And this is really important. I never know when, if I now use the word gammon, if I start talking about the gammon in your life, by which, going a long and rich tradition going all the way back to Charles Dickens, it refers to a set of opinions combined with a level of stubbornness. That's what we mean by the word. Lots of racists like to pretend that gammon is a racist term, but enough about them. It is a description of very stubborn ignorance, okay? But I never know how stubborn that ignorance is. So when I talk about the gammon in your life and I say this is important, I mean that you might be able to help them. Because the conversation about asylum seekers being put up in hotels has been one of the most irresponsible and obnoxious and potentially dangerous conversations that I can remember the country having. It's not something we've done a lot on the programme. But what we have done is call it absolutely correctly in a way that has been proved on a scale that even I can't quite believe. So what happened was that people like, didn't Farage start going there with his Fisher-Price binoculars and start filming stuff? And what you do, okay, is that you find a building that used to be a 3-star or a 4-star hotel, okay? Maybe it was even a 3-star or a 4-star hotel last week and it was still open. But you find a building like that, and the Home Office moves asylum seekers into that building. And at precisely that point, it ceases to be a 3-star or a 4-star hotel. The facilities, the services, the food, the staff, every single thing that contributed to it being a hotel, never mind a 3-star or a 4-star hotel, it's all gone. The number of people to a room, the food that you eat for breakfast, there's no menus. You're not getting chicken Kiev for your dinner if you don't, or a steak or a choice. So that to me was always so obvious that it didn't even need explaining. And that's why I'm never quite sure how stubborn the ignorance is of the kind of people who profess to be furious about asylum seekers being put up in luxury hotels. Now, someone like Farage knows that they're not being. But his entire career depends upon making people believe things about foreigners that are not true, whether it's the people who sit in the European Parliament or whether it's the people staying in the former hotel in the middle of your town, because they are not hotels. And the reason why the Home Office has put people in these buildings is because it was the most cost-effective way to accommodate them while their applications were processed. Now, if they knew what they were doing, if they hadn't spent 14 years conducting ludicrous austerity programs and culture wars and the nonsense of Brexit, if they'd actually been prioritising the state of the country, they'd be processing these applications much quicker. That too would save money. But the bottom line on asylum seeker accommodation would have always been that the Home Office was trying to do it in the most cost-effective way possible. It will still be expensive in comparative and relative terms, but it would be cheaper than any other alternative because these buildings are already purposed for accommodating people. They are no longer 4-star hotels. They are now asylum accommodation centres. But guess what? Some of them have still got the sign outside, which means Billy Buncher numbers can go on Twitter with his bulldog avatar and issue a call to arms. There have been imprisonments. There's been jailings this week of people who turned up outside asylum accommodation centres, labouring under the illusion that the conditions inside were comparable to luxury hotels. That's what I mean about stubborn ignorance. There might be someone in your life who believes this, and what I'm giving you now are the tools to explain to them why they are wrong and just how spectacularly wrong they are. Because it's a cancerous opinion to hold. It will eat you from the inside. And what has emerged today is something that it should be shocking, but if you understand the issue, isn't. Because the government, extraordinarily, I don't think punted the propaganda. The government fell for the propaganda. So members of the Conservative Party, senior members of the governing party, up to and including prime ministers, fell for the Faragist propaganda about luxury hotels. They fell for the lie that these buildings were still offering up saunas and 5-course breakfasts and a choice of pillows for everybody who's come here in a small boat from continental Europe. Because guess what's come out today? Rishi Sunak's plan to save public money by moving asylum seekers out of hotels is in tatters after Whitehall's own spending watchdog disclosed that the government's alternative sites will cost millions of pounds more. Why? Because the Bibby bloody Stockholm wasn't operating as a human accommodation centre last week. And the hotels were. So even calling them hotels has created this problem. A £1.2 billion problem, £46 million more than where they were before. So by the end of March, the Home Office expects to have spent at least 230 million quid, 230 million quid, developing the barge in Portland, an RAF base in Lincolnshire, another one in Essex, and an ex-student hall of residence in Huddersfield. Now, why do they need to change the ex-student hall of residence in Huddersfield to accommodate asylum seekers? Because it will be even less accommodating than it was before. And that's the end of my TED Talk. So don't fall for this crud next time some rabble-rousing racist serves it up for you, whether they're a politician or a presenter. It's absolute rollicks. And it's infected the highest level of government to the point where they've introduced policies because they honestly believed they were going to save money and they've ended up spending more. Stubborn ignorance.